Hey folks, it's Frithgar here, how you doing? Welcome back to Dutch Polder here in Farming Simulator 17. I'm just selling our second round of sugar beet right here. And we should get another roughly 10,000 euros for this trailer full. At least that's the plan. Go on, are we gonna do it? It is 10,707. That's pretty good going. So much so that I think I'd like to do one more load before we stop. And that'll leave us just over 200,000 litres of sugar beet left in storage, which is, it is pretty good. And it'll also leave our total then about 220,000 euros that we've got to use for the spring, which again is a good thing. Now, we've got some machinery that we've bought for this farmer, and then the rest of the machinery we've been leasing. So I'm hoping, I mean, we have taken out a bit of a loan for him, which, you know, he may or may not be happy about. But I'm hoping that by the time we leave, you know, we've got a good farm all set up. It's all set up for doing the pigs. And it was pigs that he wanted to do. So, yeah, it should all be good. There shouldn't be any problems that this farmer has got. The field has now been finished, or almost finished, the field of wheat. We'll go up there and we'll just finish just planting that one in, make sure that it's all done. I'm thinking that there is a couple little bits left. I'd like to wait until tomorrow before I actually do those, because I'd like to find out if I can plant in the when the ground is frozen. I want to find out if we can actually do that. Now, this is a thing that is sometimes done in the UK, and I believe other parts of the world as well, where you plant when the ground is frozen, and all you're doing is you put the seeds into the ground while it's all completely frozen solid, but not completely 100%. It's not frozen enough that you can't work the ground, but it is frozen enough that the seeds go into the ground and they remain dormant. They don't do anything at all. They don't sprout, they don't do anything. They just stay in the ground, buried, remain dormant until the spring comes along. It's not a very common thing to do, admittedly, but it can be good for those farms where the ground can get a little bit waterlogged, and it basically is, it's just a way to, like, be able to get on the fields when they're partially frozen. Just, you know, like I said, not frozen enough that you can't work the ground at all, but they are frozen enough that it's going to keep the tractor from sinking completely into the ground. And it's an interesting sort of approach to farming, and you don't see it very often. I did actually do something along those lines in the Dowland Farm series, where I sort of explained the whole process and did do it a little bit. I've never actually personally seen it being used, but I am aware that it is an option that is done, and certainly some parts of the world where it's particularly cold, it's often the only way that you can do it. So if anybody knows very much about this, where you plant into frozen grounds, you know, like I said, the temperature it's got to be just right, or you plant right before it starts to properly freeze, so the seeds don't germinate. It goes in, it's too cold for the seeds to germinate, and then it freezes solid, so they just stay in the ground as they are, and then as the ground thaws in spring, then the seeds germinate and they start to grow. Usually the practice is to plant in the autumn or late summer, so that the seeds germinate, and then you've got young seedlings in the field that have germinated, they've started to grow, and then they go, the young plants go dormant. That's the usual practice. But this idea of planting after the temperature has gotten too low for the seeds to germinate is certainly an interesting one. So today I would very much like to hear from anybody who does actually follow that farming practice, or may not be farmers yourselves, but you may live in a region where you see this happening. You see them out planting late autumn, early winter, and then you don't see anything growing until the next spring. Now, I'm making a vast assumption here, but I am assuming that the further north you go, the more likely such a practice would be. So maybe sort of Canada and Northern Europe, there's going to be places where this would be more likely than, you know, moving further south. Because, you know, here where I am in the UK, we get maybe 3 weeks of the winter where we've got frost, and maybe 2 days of the entire winter where we actually have snow. Occasionally the snow might last for a week, but yeah, it's normally only 1 or 2 days where we get snow, and then 2 or 3 weeks total where we have mornings that everything is frozen. Normally, it's just cold and wet. It just rains and it rains and it rains. We get lots of rain, but the temperatures, they tend to fluctuate between a couple degrees above freezing, so you're looking at 1 or 2 degrees C, up to maybe 10, possibly even a balmy 11 or 12 degrees C. What that is, because I know some of you work in Fahrenheit. You do, in particular in the States, you work in Fahrenheit, don't you? I've no idea. I have not got a clue. I wouldn't be able. I've no idea about Fahrenheit. Never ever worked in Fahrenheit. I've always only ever worked in metric, in degrees C. I always find it very easy to work with the degree C anyway. It seems like a fairly straightforward system. 0 is frozen, 100 is boiling, and anything in between is, slightly more comfortable than those extremes. To give you an idea, the human body is... Actually, now that I'm mentioning it, I'm not entirely sure. I think it's about 37.8, is it? I think the human body's around 37 degrees. So around 37 is comfortable. 10 degrees C is cold. It is above freezing, but it's still quite chilly. 16 degrees C is a comfortable temperature to set your room thermostat at. That is a comfortable temperature. If the temperature outside is 30 degrees, that is really hot. If it's more than that, it's really, really almost unbearably hot, or at least it is here for the UK, although I know parts of the world where you regularly reach 40 degrees C and you don't think anything of it. Although here in the UK, we tend to get very high humidity as well, and the high humidity, that's what makes it more unbearable, because the funny thing is, you can have, if it's really, really dry and you have the higher temperature go up to 40 degrees, that's not as uncomfortable for the human body as a lower temperature with a very high humidity, because the higher the humidity, the more difficult it is for sweat to work effectively. And it's something that I always find fascinating, that if you've got 35 to 38 degrees with very, very high humidity, it's actually more dangerous for you than it is to be somewhere that's 47, 10 degrees higher, but very, very dry and almost zero humidity. It's actually more dangerous to be in the 37 with very high than it is to be in the 47 with very low humidity. And that's something that I've always sort of found quite interesting about how the human body works, and how, all sorts of things work. But anyway, I'm not here to talk about, that's a science lesson for another day. Ask your science teacher if you're in school, otherwise Google it. Or you could just Google it anyway. You don't have to wait and ask your science teacher. They may not even know. They may be a physics teacher. Right, we're going to stop there. We're going to go over to, we're going to leave this one, like I said, till morning. And we're going to go to this tractor right here, and we're going to bring a few bales around for the pigs. While I say, weekly question, of course, the monthly question we've nearly forgot. Where do you want to go for our next 4-week stint? We have got, staying here on Dutch Polder, we can go to the Tyrolean Alps, which is western Austria, right up in the Alps. Or we can go to Lone Oak Farm, which is in Oregon. See, I got it right there. See, it's not Ontario at all, it's Oregon. Oregon in the US, we can go to, I'm going to bring out 4 bales, I think. There we go. We can go to Dowland Farm, which is Yorkshire in the UK, or we can go to Shamrock Valley, which is in Southern Ireland. It's your vote, it's your game. Head into the comment section down below, let us know which one you want and why, and of course don't forget to actually cast your vote in the top right hand corner. And in order for me to, remain passive and not try to influence the votes, I'm going to try to influence the vote by asking you to please vote for the Tyrolean Alps. The vote as it stands from last week's voting is currently almost neck and neck between staying here and going to Tyrolean Alps. The other 3 maps don't really have a look in at this point. And I personally would prefer to go to the Tyrolean Alps, but that being said, I am more than happy to go to any of the 5 maps. I've not picked out anything that I don't personally want to play. So it is your vote, it's your game. Go for it. Do whatever you got to do. Now, let's just bring that one around there like that. So we've put 2 more bales in, so that's jumped us up by another 12,000. Look at that. We need a lot of straw. 2 more bales is not going to make much difference. We probably want another 4 bales after that. I think that would be sort of a little bit more accurate. Once we've got these bales in, then we can start... Actually, I'm going to put 2 more bales in, and then while we get the next ones, we should have enough straw there that we can start fast-forwarding time to get through tonight, into the depths of winter, into the middle of winter, and then we can do our little test with the seed drill and see if it is possible to plant while the ground is actually frozen. This is something I'm quite looking forward to finding out. So let's just tilt that back a bit. Strange thing about bales is that they always... You can have it tilted back and they will still try to slide off the fork. Slightly frustrating at times. I'm hoping that the physics have been just tweaked a little bit. Physics are... They do seem to have improved between the beginning of this game coming out and now. The physics of the bales do seem to have improved ever so slightly. They do behave a little bit more like real bales. You still get clipping and jumping around and strange things, but I'm sure that some of it, some of the patches, they did actually tweak the bales ever so slightly. They're still not great, and I'm hoping a little bit more work has been done on them. However, I can appreciate just how phenomenally difficult it would be to... code the correct fit, the real life physics for bales in a game like this. That has got to be such a challenge. Like, if you can just imagine it, can't you? The new bloke turns up at the gaming studio and they're like, right, we want you to do the physics engine for the bales. Wait, what? I'm an entry-level programmer. I've had like experience, but wait, huh? You're joking, aren't you? Nope, get to work. Come on. And yeah, and then you got some poor guy that then spends the next 4 years of his life trying to get the physics to work on these bales, and is just never able to do it, never able to quite pull this one off. And yeah, that's got to be quite the challenge, being told that you're the one that has got to do the bales. Great demand for bales and straw pellet. Bales? Did that say bales? Pretty sure that said bales. We've got bales and straw. Ah. No, they did that. Right. Does it say... No, that's wool there. We've got... Well, we got the chips there. Bales and straw. Oh, at bales and straw for the hay pellets right there. Is it hay pellets? I think that's hay pellets. I think that's straw. Job to tell. One or the other. Anyway, doesn't really matter. Let's go and get this next lot of bales in for the pig. So I really like this thing with seasons, where you use a massive amount of straw in the winter and use hardly any in the summer, and vice versa for water. It's actually really cool. I like that. And I'm really looking forward to seeing if Seasons is, well, I'm going to make an assumption that Seasons is coming to FS19. However, the lead programmer for Seasons now actually works for Giants. He got a job, it was announced, and he now works for Giants. I don't know if he's going to have enough time to be able to do his job working for Giants and also make Seasons. And I mean, we know that this is something that Giants do. They find the absolute best modders in the community, and then they generally try to employ them, which is a really good idea. You look at it from a business point of view, that is absolutely genius level marketing, and just keeping your company going. You find the absolute best people in the industry who can do that produce the kind of quality that we've got with Seasons, and they do that off their own back. And you think, well, if I was to incentivize them by giving them a pay packet, what could they produce then? That would be impressive. And yeah, that's what they do. And I do like the idea. Now, if we go back here, cleanliness is at 9%. We need to do something about that. We could, yeah, see, straw. We need to do some work on this. Ground is now frozen at -2 degrees. So we'll go... I'm going to just stop the time ticking by a minute, because I don't want it to start raining and get rain on our straw. So that's going to be problematic for me. So I'm just going to stop that there at 10 o'clock in the morning. And we're going to go whizzing out round here, and we're going to grab those next 2 bales so that they don't get soaking wet. And that's the great thing with Seasons as well, is if you leave grass outside, that gets spoiled. But a dry bale, if it doesn't rain, doesn't get spoiled at all. If it does rain, then the bale gets spoiled. And I've never actually left a bale outside to find out how quickly it gets destroyed, how quickly the bale deteriorates once it gets wet. So we're going to put one bale on the ground, and then we're going to let it get rained on, and we're going to find out how quickly it disappears. There is the seasons thing that you can like point at the bale and find out how big it is and how many litres it's got, so we'll use that one as well. Yeah, let's drop those two in there like that. Elegantly done, even if I do say so myself. Wow. 28,000 litres of straw, and we're still nowhere near full. Corn could do with a little bit, but time I put some of that in. Let's have a bit of variation here. Let's go over to this one, right here, and let's run up the other end of the field and just see what this does. See if we can actually plant. See, it's these little, we got these little tiny bits right here, see? And these are the bits that I'm interested to see. I think it just goes really, really slowly, but I think it does actually still work. Right, you ready? Your soil is frozen, you can't work on it. See what I mean by really slow? That's the kind of speed you're looking at. I don't know if it would let me do it with the hired help. I'm just going to drive over this bit and see if I think it does let me still do it, but it goes really slow. To like say that, you know, this is frozen and you ain't supposed to be working here, dude. Is it doing it? It's not used any seed. The seed itself hasn't been used, or at least maybe it didn't need any for that particular piece. Right, there we go. It did. It planted. It actually planted it. Let's have a look on the map, and then we can find out properly if it's actually planted on that little bit, because what you do is you zoom in like this, and it did. Right, so it works. It just says that you can't work this because it's frozen. So next up, we need to go like this, and I'll press H like that. You can't work it. Right. That's just sitting there and not doing anything. So it overrides the hired help, but it doesn't override me. It doesn't stop me from doing it. It just slows me down so much as to be almost pointless. Thinking we might wait until the spring. Thinking, yeah, you know what? I can't be bothered to actually sit there and let it go through that. So I'm going to drive this one back and put it in the shed. And we'll do that little tiny bit of field tidy up just at the end of the year. I think that would be a more appropriate thing to try and do. So we'll whiz this one in here. We've got the row crop planter in there, which we'll be using to plant the maize in the spring as well. So we'll bring you back to here, and we'll get you under cover. Bring you back round. There we go. Like that. And we'll drop you in there. I'm not using that trailer at all, but I'm also not planning to get rid of it or anything. I'm just going to leave it where it is. And we'll bring this tractor. We haven't put the tractor away in the shed, but we are just leaving it under cover. Be a little bit better for the tractor than not doing anything at all with it. And we want to go back over to here. Now, where are we next? We've got... We need to put some water in, and then we want a bit more straw and food. The water is a bit more pressing than the straw and food. I'm actually going to not use this tractor for the water. I'll leave that one there a second. I'll use this tractor for the water. And I'm going to start fast-forwarding time again. Oh, no, before I do that, before I fast-forward time, one thing I will do, this one, I am going to get a couple bales out. I'm going to get 3 bales out of the shed. I'm going to leave 1 in the field, and I'll put 2 in for the pigs, so that we can check the bales and see what they do when it rains, because I've never actually checked this out. In all the different games that I play, I've never actually checked out what properly happens to these when it rains. And this is very remiss of me. I should have done this, because, you know, this is the kind of research that you expect from me. This is the kind of thing that you expect me to find out, so you don't have to waste a straw on your games. I do apologise. I should have done this previously, so I will do it now. So we will just grab that 1 bale right there, and we'll pick you up, and we'll bring you back over here. So we don't want you anywhere near our auto-loading shed. We're going to bring this one over there, and we're going to drop it right there. That's the perfect spot for it. I'll leave it there. And then if I have a look in here and we go under miscellaneous here, in MISC, there, we want the Wopster. I'll buy that one. There we go, there's 3,500 euros. Ooh, nope, jump. Nope, I didn't mean to do that either. Let's try that, but there we go. Right, so then we go to you. No, I can't remember how to use this one. I think there, you press and hold. Right, straw, 4,000 litres. Okay. So we've now found out the Wopster has told us everything that we need to know. So while I can now start fast-forwarding time, and we'll wait until it rains, and then we'll see. I don't imagine that getting rain on the bales is going to affect them immediately. I imagine they get rain on them, so you can still use them for a little bit. But then after a time, the bale gets deteriorates or something. I don't really know how it's going to work. Whether the quantity of straw that's in the bale will deteriorate over time, or whether it'll be just a midnight tick like it does, you know, with the grass on the ground. At midnight you lose, I think it's half of everything that's there, and then the following midnight you lose everything. And they do it at midnight rather than a continual like depreciation of it, and because it was I'm assuming it was easier to code, but it's less of a performance impact. It would affect performance quite badly if you had to have it continually losing little bits from all over the map. That would affect performance of the game far more than having it just everything just like disappear all at midnight all at once. So I'm assuming that the bale gets rained on and it doesn't change in quantity until midnight, and then once midnight comes through and is gone, then we lose either the whole bale will just disappear, or we lose like half the quantity that's stored in the bale, something like that. But yeah, we'll find out. We will wait with bated breath, and we will see what happens with that one. I'm quite interested to find out. Now, where would be the best place to lower this one into? We've got all of this ditch along here, but it's very steep on the sides. It doesn't seem to be an optimal point to back this one into this ditch here. I'm thinking really we should just get a water pump, because this doesn't seem right. It just doesn't seem right doing it like this, because I got to back right in. Right, okay, it's not even working on there. I got to get this thing into the water in such a way that the back end of the tanker is right in the water, and it doesn't seem entirely accurate to get the thing in the water that far from here. There's no pipe. That's one thing I don't like. I have seen an overloading pipe in some of the stuff from FS19. Whether there's going to be like a pipe that would come from a water trailer that I would love to physically go from the trailer here with a pipe from the back and drop that into the water. That would be such a beautiful, wonderful, amazing, awesome thing to be able to do. I don't know if it's actually a thing that can happen though. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Right, our pig's health is 90%. We claim that this is on 0%. That's fine. We'll not have to worry about that. So I will go there. I will start that. I'm going to shut that one off. I'm going to switch over to this tractor right here, and we're going to change over the fork. We're going to go to the bucket. We've got some corn there still. We've got enough to last us tonight, and then we can get a little bit more food and put in for them tomorrow. We've got water going in at the moment from there. We probably have to get a little bit more straw and put that in. Bucket is over here, isn't it? The rain still hasn't come. We've still not had our... I want the rain to come, and I want to be able to look at the bale before... You know, while the rain is happening, but before it gets to actually midnight. And... because I suspect that it's going to be midnight that it changes over. So I can't really fast forward time. And now we've got the very real danger that it's not going to fall as rain at all. It's just going to come down as snow. And that behaves differently. That behaves completely differently to normal rain. Oh, hello. It's getting foggy now. We're at 6:30 at the moment. It's getting very foggy, so we may get our... There we go. And it's raining. It's actual rain. It's not snow. Great. This is fantastic. This is what I wanted. I wanted snow, not rain. I didn't really want to do that. It wasn't quite part of my master plan here. I do want to try and pick up. Something I don't like is the way that the buckets work sometimes, and they don't quite pick things up properly, and then you struggle to pick anything up. Right, so we've had some rain, and now we've got some snow coming on this as well. Right, that is actually now full, so I need to tip that one out. We've got snow coming down as well. Snow is... Okay, that's brilliant. I'm going to leave that one upside down like that for a minute. And I'm just going to... I'll tell you what, I'll just slow time down a little bit. Just down to 15 times, just so it's not going too quickly. Oops. Getting stuck now. Snow is turning up, isn't it? Yeah. Wait a minute. We've got snow on the road, but we don't have snow anywhere else. That's a little bit odd. Right, we're going to just check this bale. It got rained on, but now it's gotten snowed on. So has the bale itself changed at all? You need to press and hold the 4,000 litres still. Okay, so now we're going to go through the night. I'm going to do Alt-N and skip the night until dawn. Like that. Resting for another day. Okay, so we've skipped through the night. We've had some snow, which is absolutely wonderful. I do love that it snowed. Now, what is the bale giving us now that is still 4,000 litres? Okay, apparently it decided not to actually class it as rain, and it's just come as snow. We might have to leave that bale there until next year. I'm going to leave the bale there, and we'll check it every day. That's what we'll do. Now, our next big problem is that we can't clean these pigs, because it doesn't accept snow here. We've got a little bit of maize in here, and cleanliness is currently at 38%. We've got some straw. We've got enough straw. We do need to put in some more food for them. So we're on day 3 now of winter. Let me go through to here. I love the snow. I'm not actually going to do very much with the snow on this map because we don't really have time. We spent a lot of time messing around with snow on Stuff and Back, so I don't feel the need to do a load of stuff with snow. I feel that we've already covered a load of stuff with snow, so that we don't sort of have to go and do more with it now. What I'd like to do, though, is to be able to pick up some of this grain down here. Whether it's going to allow me to do this, it's because of where the snow is and how it sort of fits on the heaps. It's difficult for me to gather it. Right, well, let's try this. There's 1,500. I put that in at least. Put that in for the pigs. There they go. And then I'll move this one out the way. What did I want? I wanted some more straw. Water is fine at the moment. We do want some more bales. I reckon another 4 bales of straw. And then we also want a trailer load of food. Not a full trailer. A full trailer. Although, if we buy another full trailer, that's actually... That'll work out alright, I think. I don't think that's going to hurt. We can buy 1 full trailer full. And that's going to be enough then to keep us going for quite some time. Because we can use whatever we use for this trailer load, and then the next bit would be we'd put it into the storage, and then the next time we need to feed the pigs, we just take the stuff out of storage instead. Let's come on round here. I've got to get the bales out of here next. Let's see how this works. 4 bales I'm going for. Go to you, and we go... Oh, no, I want that one there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. They've come out okay. Haven't had any problem with those. So we get these round. We don't seem to be leaving tracks in snow. I think this is something to do with whether the map is been specifically made seasons ready or something. I think the snow has different effects depending on... Well, yeah, depending on... It's something to do with, like... putting the seasons thing into the map. So you got the snow effect, and it will affect you driving around, and it is there, but it behaves differently if the map hasn't been specifically prepared for it. At least I think that's the case. I'm not entirely sure though, so yeah, don't quote me on this, because at the moment I'm kind of guessing rather than knowing what I'm talking about, and that does have that's a very different thing. Sounding like you know what you're talking about and actually knowing what you're talking about are two very different things, and my ignorance when it comes to programming and what Seasons is and isn't able to do with various map compatibilities is quite high. I've got a very high level of ignorance on there. I am trying to cure that particular level of ignorance, but it may be a slow process. Bring that one back round there. So we've got another 16,000 litres of straw gone in for the pigs. And like I said, you do put a huge amount of this in for the pigs in the winter. And it's the same with cows. Loads of straw going in. The only thing I'm disappointed with is you don't put anything in for sheep. And people that keep sheep inside, you do... Like, you do use some bedding for sheep. You do use it a little bit. And I was always a bit disappointed that you never had to put any bedding whatsoever in for sheep, and no grain either. There's no grain going in for them. So that's much more like it. A lot more full there. So let me just switch you off. I'll drop that down a bit, just make it a bit safer. There we go. You're not going to run into it then. I actually know someone who wasn't watching what they were doing, and they ran into a bale spike because they left it up. And I do it all the time when I'm playing this game. Very, very dangerous. I leave it up at, like, chest level. He was very lucky, right? I've heard of people actually, you know, getting killed doing this. Farms are very dangerous places, and you really got to know. You got to know what you're doing. You got to be switched on at all times. You got to constantly risk assess everything. And it's not. I don't mean like writing down risk assessments like you have to with big companies. And give somebody a brand new job of just writing risk assessments. No, I mean you got to personally risk assess everything. You got to look at it and think, is that safe? Have I left that safe? Is that going to kill me later on? And he was very, very lucky that that spike didn't go into his chest, because he was running along and he was looking that way as he ran, and then turned and looked back too late to stop himself, and it went into his shoulder. It went right through. The spike went right through his shoulder. And he spent a lot of time in the hospital. Well, not I say a lot. He spent a couple days. Couple days is a long time when you don't want to be in hospital at all. But yeah, he spent a little. So you know, I suppose in the grand scheme of things, that's not a lot of time. He spent some time in hospital. And then he came out and he couldn't use his arm very much for a little while. But he made a complete 100% recovery. Absolutely no issues whatsoever. No problems. No health issues. No lasting impact from being completely impaled on a bale. Oops. Right, let's try and do this again, shall we? And let's try just tipping out the snow. There we go. No long-lasting consequences of being stabbed right through the shoulder, and it's absolutely amazing. It really is, and he's very, very lucky, and he knows how lucky he is. He's a lot more cautious these days, and he has a particular bugbear about people leaving the bale spike up in the air when they leave the tractor. Can't say that I blame him, really, because he did tell me. I mean, I'm going back, so I haven't spoken to him for probably several years now. I say several. I'm trying to think. When was it? Could be as much as 10 years ago that I last spoke to this man. And yeah, he's the kind of person who I spoke to a lot when I knew him, and then you know, we haven't spoken in a long time, and if I was to speak to him again, we'd probably sit down and carry on talking where we left off on our last conversation. It's one of those types of friendships. But anyway, yeah, so he stabbed himself right through the shoulder and made a complete 100% recovery. No ill effects whatsoever, but he does tend to get very upset with people who leave bale spikes at chest height when they're working. You don't leave the bale spike at chest height, not for any reason. Or certainly don't if you're working for him, I'll tell you that much. you wouldn't do it twice. You would not do it twice. Or if you did do it twice, you wouldn't be employed by him any longer. And I feel that that is fairly valid, really. He does have a fairly good reason for it. But it's just one tiny incident like that can change your life forever. I know farmers who have literally just gone and grabbed something, just without thinking, have just gone and grabbed hold of something. Oh, hang on, oh, I need to grab that, and they've lost their hand because they grabbed it next to a piece of moving machinery, and that's it. They've spent the rest of their lives with only one hand. It is such a dangerous place. That being said, I also think that everybody should spend at least a few weeks working on a farm. At least a month would be better. Everybody, I think, at some point in their younger lives, and I'm talking about in, you know, somewhere between the ages of 18 and 22, you should work for a month on a farm just to see what farms are like, see where your food comes from, and start to understand a little bit more about how, you know, the kind of processes that are involved with running a farm and keeping everything going. It's something that I think everybody should get to experience at least once in their lives and create a little bit more understanding. And also to help you understand just how difficult and dangerous this job can be. You let your guard down for just a moment. Pigs, right? You think, oh, it's just pigs. You know, they're really kind, generous animals. If you miscalculate with a pig and you get a bad-tempered pig who's having a bad day, and you've made a miscalculation and you're in a pen with a pig, right? Those animals are bigger than you. These animals here, these are very big. They are much heavier and bigger than a human. And if a pig put its mind to it, it could do you some serious damage. People have been killed by pigs. It doesn't happen very often, admittedly, but it's dangerous. And it's the same with cows. A cow has only got a ton the wrong way, and it'll crush you. Those things, some cows can be well over a ton in weight. Most cows are around the 600 to 800 kilos. But, you know, cows, it's not unusual for a cow to be over a ton in weight. And they're dangerous animals. They're very dangerous animals. And if you miscalculate, if you let your guard down for just a moment, you could be seriously, seriously hurt. And that's before you get anywhere near any of the machinery, right? This tractor right here, you know, you look at this tractor, it's just a little tiny tractor. We just have a look a minute. How big is this how powerful is this tractor? Right, we're driving around in the, this is the T6, I think it is, that we got at the moment, isn't it? Is it the T6? Oh, no. I think it's the T6. It would help if I looked on the side. T6, yeah. That's the T6. Right, that tractor that we've got right there, that T6, is 143 horsepower. Right? That tractor there might be small and compact, but that is strong enough to completely demolish a house without really breaking into a sweat. That is an incredible. A horsepower, it literally is. It translates to about a horsepower, right? That is a horse. You're the equivalent to getting 143 horses all in a line, putting them onto a piece of machinery, and then starting them walking and dragging it along. That's how much power this tractor has got. And it's very easy to underestimate what that power translates to. It is extremely dangerous. It really is. And that's something that some people just don't take into account. And it's the side of farming that you never really see. It's the side of farming that is never explained, because it's not. You know, farmers, you grow up with this, and you're living this 24/7. You 24/7. You've got this danger around you all the time. You're constantly doing these personal risk assessments. Everything you're doing, you're risk assessing. You're looking at. I mean, everybody does in real life anyway. You're right. You do this. You go and pick up a kitchen knife, and you've automatically risk assessed where you hold the blade and how you would hold the blade if you're going to hold it. How you wash the thing. You know, you don't get a washcloth and slide the sharp side against the palm of your hand, because that would just be really daft. You know, so you're doing this, but you're working in an environment where danger is literally all around you, and even the most mundane things can be dangerous. Like, you know, a few quiet pigs, they can be dangerous. They can potentially be very dangerous. There are lots of other jobs where you have the same type of effect. Like driving I know that several of you who watch me, you drive HGV lorries for a living, you know, big trucks for a living. And that's another thing. You're constantly risk assessing everything you do. You get out of the truck in order to do some work on it, or to make some alterations, or whatever reason you got to get out of your truck, and you're doing a load of risk assessments about it. You're driving a massive piece of machinery there, and you're risk assessing everything as you drive down the road. You do if you're even just driving a car. A car is an incredibly dangerous piece of machinery. Usually, though, it's more dangerous for people outside of the car than inside. But you're still risk assessing everything as you go along. And with farming, it's kind of that risk assessment thing that you've got built into you kind of goes into overdrive. You're doing more of it than you have done previously. And your day-to-day life is... You got this constant thing going in your brain. And the number of farmers out there that have got fingers missing because their personal onboard risk assessment meter has slipped for just the tiniest moment. Right? Literally just seconds. It's just... You just let your guard down for just a couple seconds and bam, you know, you've lost a finger. Now, just losing a finger is not the worst thing that can happen. You know, you're losing a whole hand, and that's a career-changing move, that is. And, right, what do we got now? Great demand there. Let's check this one again. Steel straw 4,000. We've not yet had rain that has done anything. I don't know if it will. It's really interesting to find out if anything does actually happen. So we're into early spring now. Water has dropped, but because we now need less food for them in early spring, that's not really changed. The corn has gone down a little bit, but that's not changed very much. The water is now the thing that we're going to need a lot of. We've got some cloud. Water is over there. I'm going to unhitch that one. We'll start up, and we're going to go over here. I'm just thinking, I've done a little bit of sort of pottering around with the pigs today, but I haven't really done a huge amount else, have I? I've sort of moved some bales around. We've looked at a few things. We've seen the snow on the ground. But I've not produced possibly the most entertaining of videos. I've mostly just been talking about how people can get badly hurt. I'll have to work on that. We got one more week left, and our very next task that we're going to do is we are going to do some more planting. We want to get the Amazon condor out and starting to plant in this field down here. Then field 38 over here, we want the row crop planter, and we want to do stuff with that. But the ground is frozen, which means that we're not going to be able to do anything today. Right, so we got to fast forward time today and get to tomorrow when the ground's no longer frozen, and hopefully the snow will have thawed out a little bit as well and disappeared, and we should be able to get some more stuff. I am curious about one thing here. Am I able to put this one into the water in order to get water, or am I going to have to wait until tomorrow when it's all thawed out? So look, is it going to go into the water? I think it's going into the water. Well, I'm pressing R and I'm not. It's not filling. Let's back it up a bit. Are we going to be able to fill this one? I'd like to be able to fill it. I still think that I don't think there's any... Nope. Nope. It's not having it. It's absolutely not having it. I mean, it may slightly be in the wrong place, but I don't think it's going to let me because I think it's frozen. Right, that... No, it's not. We're going to park up there, and we're going to wait now until... Because I think that's frozen over, and that's why I can't actually get the water out of it, which is a little bit of a nuisance. It'll be fine, though. So, what are we going to be doing next spring? We need a little bit of... Next spring? This spring. We're now in the spring. We've got that one there, is Valtra. This one I'm going to put onto this seed drill in here. At least I think I am. I need to check that. Garage. Let's have a look. We've got... went past it there. The horse there. Right, that requires 180 horsepower. That one also requires 180 horsepower. And then we've also got the Amazon there. That requires 270 horsepower. This tractor here is bigger. And if you look, see, we don't have a snow mask on this. Well, at least not in these sheds. So this shed here, because it doesn't have a snow mask, the snow goes right inside onto the floor. And there's nothing that we can do about that. There's no changes that we can make in order to make it any different or better. But it is worth noting that if you're playing on this map, putting bales into this shed may well result in the bales not doing what you want them to. Just bring you out. Back you rat. Okay, I can't back that one round. It's not going to turn sharp enough. So what I need to... Sawmill for potatoes. I don't want to sell potatoes. I do want to bring this one round. Well, we'll go on round, and I'm not going to worry about refilling it because the hired help buys its own stuff, so I don't need to care about that in the slightest. All I need to do is we do need to get fertilizer onto these fields here. And the first day of spring, we've actually had our crops grow. We've had some growth on that field right there, on field 2. So we've got the little... so I'm going to leave the little... We had those little patches down the other end. I'm going to leave those. I'm not going to worry about them. It's 13 degrees now, but the ground is still frozen. And it doesn't look like the snow is melting either, so hopefully tonight the snow will melt. But it doesn't look like it's changing at the moment. So it's a little bit... I don't think I've played on a map where the snow mask sort of behaves like this before, because it's sort of doing something, but we don't have like the lack of grip anywhere on the map, and there's a few other little bits about it as well that don't sort of seem to be behaving quite like it would if it was full-blown snow. I will just change this one over. We want, not beans, we want maize on this one. So this is going to come down to this field down here. It's going to be ready for planting at the beginning of our next episode. But anyway, we have really run out of time for this episode. So our monthly question, where do you want to go next? What map do you want us to play on next? Do you want to stay right here on Dutch Polder? Do you want to go to the Tyrolean Alps in Austria? And there we go. Everything's gone through. It's still frozen though, so I don't think we're going to be able to start playing it just yet. Tyrolean Alps in Western Austria. Do you want to go to Shamrock Valley in Southern Ireland? Do you want to go to Dowland Farm in Northern England? Or do you want to go to Lone Oak Farm in Oregon in the US? It's your vote. It's your game. Head into the comment section down below. Let us know which one you want and why. And of course, don't forget to actually cast your vote in the top right-hand corner. There we go, we'll start filling that. And yes, I would prefer to go to the Tyrolean Alps, and the vote is currently very much between this one and Tyrolean Alps. The other 3 maps don't particularly have a look in, but you're still welcome to go and vote for them anyway. That is just the way the voting is running at the moment with the tallies and so on. So if you've enjoyed this episode, then please hit down below and give us a like. And you know what I didn't say? I didn't say, it's your vote, it's your game. Head into the comment section down below. Let us know which one you want and why. And of course, don't forget to actually cast your vote in the top right-hand corner. It would help if I told you everything. So yes, thank you very much for watching. No, I'm getting confused now. I'm doing different bits at different times, which I shouldn't be doing. So if you've enjoyed this episode, then please head down below and give us a like. And if you really enjoyed it, then please tell your friends all about me. Get them to come and watch as well. That would be awesome. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. This is Frithgar, and I just want to have a look at the pigs and see, and they are, look, see, we're already growing more pigs. Every 2 hours, despite the fact that health is down to 82% because the cleanliness is poor. I'll need to do something about that. Yep, until next time, thank you very much for watching. This is Frithgar. Goodbye, and see you later.